Hello, everybody. Guess what? I am back. It's Evan Grant from DallasNews.com, Dallas Morning News, your somewhat friendly, occasionally grumpy, mostly curmudgeonly Rangers insider with another edition of this week or this quarter in Rangers baseball, y'all. We won't get into all the technical issues and vacation that went on, but Italy, pizza, the pasta, the history, sights, the people, just fantastic. But you don't want to hear about vacation. You want to hear about the Rangers, the trade deadline, and what is going to happen with this team. And guess what? I don't know. I do know this. The Rangers are active. They are pursuing a number of relief options. That is, I think if you were to measure where this team, the bulk of this team's efforts are, it would all be on relief arms. The general feeling on the market is that going out and getting a sexy name like Emmanuel Clase or David Bednar in Pittsburgh, those appear to be long shots. I think more importantly, Aroldis Chapman was the big late inning addition for the Rangers. But what this team needs and what has been evidenced all year are some more guys in the middle who have simply done the job before. Monday's loss in Houston was a prime example of that. The Rangers had a starter who scuffled, still took a lead, got to the seventh inning, and here comes the decision. Bruce Bochy is facing the top of the Astros lineup, where the highest leverage point in their lineup without Jose Altuve or Yordan Alvarez. But with Alex Bregman and Kyle Tucker and Chas McCormick, and his choice there was say, okay, I've got a 3-run lead. I'm going to give the ball to my best reliever, Aroldis Chapman, here in the seventh inning. And for the first time, Aroldis Chapman didn't get the job done. And when that happened and Chapman gave up a 3-run game-tying homer to Chas McCormick, you start to look at the rest of the night and the options. You started to look around, and the options were so inexperienced. He had Brock Burke to get him out of the eighth inning. Burke had pitched on back-to-back days. He wasn't going to ask Burke, even though his pitch count was very manageable on both days, to go out for a second inning a day after he had pitched an inning. So the manager is left with nothing but rookies to choose from to try and get the ball to Will Smith with a lead. And let's go over a situation here. I know there is always a lot of second guessing when there's a walk-off loss, particularly when it's not against the quote-unquote closer. And last night, Will Smith was not on the mound in the ninth inning of what began as a tie game. Spoke with Bruce Bochy kind of at length about this after the game, all things considered. And the thought process here, and baseball traditional view has always been, you're not going to use your closer or the guy who would be the closer that night on the road in a tie game in the ninth. You're going to save him for when you take a lead to close the game out. That's a traditionalist view. There are some analytical views that say you look at leverage situations, you look at hitters, and maybe it's more important to keep the game tied in the ninth inning, and then hopefully give a lead maybe to a less experienced player. I think the new extra inning rules add something of a wrinkle, and that was on display last night, because here was Bochy's options. He was going to have to pitch. Once you use Brock Burke, if you intended to finish that game and win it, you were going to have to pitch a rookie. And your choices were either give the rookie the clean inning in the ninth with a tie game, take your chances in the 10th. Maybe you do take a lead, and maybe he's got a lead to work with, but he doesn't have a clean inning anymore, because the 10th inning rules now are you run around second base. So now you're bringing Alex Spees or Yuri Rodriguez or Cody Bradford or Owen White. And the last two the Rangers didn't want to use because they were probably going to be asked to pitch on Tuesday. You're going to be bringing that that rookie into a game that very well may be tied, and he's got the winning run in scoring position. So his choice. Let's give the guy the clean inning, and let's hope that if we keep the game tied, then I can go to Will Smith, or then I will hopefully take the lead in the top of the 10th. Didn't work out. We can, and I have spent time on Twitter this morning going through this. We can hash it out all we want. Ultimately, the Rangers simply walked too many guys. John Gray walked too many guys, had a 33-pitch first inning. That led to a shorter night for him. That meant having to use Jose Leclerc, who pitched really well in the 6th instead of potentially in the 7th. It meant now this high leverage situation became Aroldis Chapman in the 7th. He walked 2 batters, the first time he's walked a hitter since he joined the Rangers. And so the game spirals out of control. This is what happens. This is what has been the Rangers' issue all year. Their bullpen lacks experience in the middle. Because of it, there have been far too many games in which this team has had a lead or has been tied going to the 7th inning and ended up losing. Monday's loss was the 17th loss in which they've been tied or had a lead going to the 7th this year, the most among any of the teams with winning records. It's something that needs to be addressed, and it was in part addressed with the acquisition of Chapman. But the general consensus is that the Rangers still need to add another reliever, at least one. There are a number of arms that are out there right now. Look, even though we are exactly a week away from the deadline, the number of sellers still isn't. I don't think the full market has completely declared. The Chicago White Sox appear to be the one team that is willing to move and has a number of relievers. They've got Kendall Graveman. They've got Madison Bummer, Bummer. I was going Madison Bumgarner. I'm sorry. They've got Keenan Middleton. I don't think that they would move Garrett Crochet. And they've got Joe Kelly, obviously. There are some other teams that we'll see if they potentially move into seller mode, like Seattle with a guy like Paul Sewald. Miami's got a couple of guys like Tanner Scott. But those are all things that will probably flush out at the end of the week. And all I can say is that the Rangers are involved, in pursuing each and every option that is out there. They know they need more experience in the middle of the bullpen to protect leads and give it to what they would like to be their back end situation, which would be Will Smith and Aroldis Chapman in some order each night. Now, on to the Ohtani in the room. If the Angels are willing to move Shohei Ohtani, if they are willing to move him, certainly the Rangers would be a player. Yes, bullpen is this team's number one most evident priority. But if you look at this roster, if there's any spot in the lineup that could use some help, it's the DH spot. If you look at how the starting pitching has kind of eroded, terrible word, but the starting pitching depth has eroded with the losses of Jake Odorizzi and Jacob deGrom early in the year, and has continued to erode. And as you get into the season, even guys who have been really good starting pitchers see some degree of backing up. John Gray and Nathan Eovaldi have seen some of that. That's why Nathan Eovaldi is being skipped this week in Houston. His velocity has backed up for the last month, and the Rangers want to make sure he's in good shape for the final 2 months. And as unfortunate as it is that he can't face Houston, the Rangers value the 12 starts in August and September over 1 start at the end of July. So you could make a case that this team could use both a DH and a starter. And Shohei Ohtani, aside from being the best player on the planet and maybe the best player in the history of the game, does both of those things. Would the Angels, I went through this and detailed this in a column early this week. Would the Angels trade him? Period. It's a hard thing to swallow. They are currently a game above 500 as I record this. It's hard for me to see Artie Moreno being able to face his fans with a record above 500 and say, I'm trading the best player in the world who never took a postseason at bat or threw a postseason pitch for me. But if the Angels do want to rebuild, this is their best route to do it. The second part is, would he consider trading him to the Rangers? You know, there's history between the Rangers and Angels, interdivisional stuff. That's all, you know, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. But there has been a rivalry between these teams that goes back to, that predates the time that the Astros kind of seized the division in the middle of the last decade. And, you know, it was fun times for the Rangers, right? When they signed Vlad Guerrero and he helped them win an American League pennant. When they worked a deal that got Mike Napoli to Toronto and then got Napoli from Toronto. Artie Moreno got a little bit frustrated watching the Rangers win back-to-back AL pennants. And then he went out and signed CJ Wilson from the Rangers in free agency. And then the next year kind of put the pressure on and stole Josh Hamilton. Neither of those moves really worked out for the Angels. And it's left Artie with a lot of I guess I don't want to say embarrassment, but you know, these are billionaire owners and there are a lot of egos involved. So that's a question that is really unpredictable. You know, I can lay out a case and did, I think, in print why the Rangers are the best fit for Ohtani in a trade, and why it would make sense for Ohtani to want to come to Texas. Not that he'd have any real say in this, but why it would make sense for both the Rangers and for him, and really for the Angels. But when you are involved with the egos of billionaires, and I don't mean that in a demeaning way, but these are guys who are used to getting what they want and doing things their own way. And when you are involved with that, it lends a level of unpredictability to it. So, do the Rangers trade for Ohtani? I guess my prediction would be, I still think it's very much less than 50% that the Texas Rangers acquire Shohei Ohtani. Do I think they are the most likely destination if Ohtani gets dealt? Yes. I still think that is the case. I think the Rangers have motivation. They have reason to pursue him. And they have really the financial wherewithal where they would not be penalized nearly as much as other teams if they add him and the $10 million of remaining salary. So the next week is going to be eventful. 2 more games in Houston as I record this, then on to San Diego. Who knows? Maybe the Rangers come home with something from San Diego besides a win or two. You know, maybe the Padres decide they're willing to move. They've got Blake Snell as a starter. They've got Josh Hader on the relief market. Just always that. Also unpredictable as to what exactly AJ Preller is going to want in return when he's making a trade. But it's going to be eventful next week. The deadline is Tuesday, 5 p.m. Central. I will be back here next week to wrap things up and look forward to the final 2 months. But until then, so long, everybody. This is good video.